my gosh, the king is just getting mated.
You know, Magnus is playing out of his mind right now.
Magnus and Hikaru are on an absolutely different planet to everybody else right now. It's not a fair fight. It's not even close. This game is just disgusting. Bullet chess once again, but for me this really exemplifies how well he is seeing the board right now, Magnus Carlsen. Disgusting tactics, sacrifices, wait till you see this one. So this is Jan Nepomniachtchi with black, we're into the bullet chess and Magnus is already commanding the match. Check this one out, Magnus kicks off with e4. So we get g6, the modern defense. Magnus takes the center. Bishop g7, knight f3, d6 played, and Magnus goes for a modest setup with bishop to e2. You know, you can put that bishop there, but he goes for something solid. Knight f6 attacks that e-pawn, and you don't want to overextend too early in the game. So knight c3 covers, a6 preparing to push b5, Magnus clamps, both players castle, and knight c6. Developing, yes, but provocative move. You're walking into d5. Now you don't want to jump here. This would be a bad change of pawn structure. You've just killed your bishop. So the knight jumps here. But where's its retreat path? Because Magnus now goes a5, stopping any a5 from black and a knight retreat here, giving his pieces some room to pivot. And how is that one not getting trapped? So we see e6 attacking the big white centre, very thematic idea in these hyper-modern openings they're called. And now Magnus goes rook a4, the knight is perilously short of squares, so c5 is forced to defend that one, and you'd love to somehow move this out of the way, go c3, trap the knight. But the minute you move this, your whole centre crumbles. So Magnus captures. It is the best move. Allows the knight to retreat backwards, but now this pawn is tender and Magnus targets it. So how do you defend it? Well, you can go d5. It's the top engine move. Jan obviously didn't want to be saddled with that IQP, isolated queen's pawn, so he plays the knight back to e8. It's a bit passive. He also didn't want to go e5, weaken this square for Magnus. So Magnus, he now pushes on with e5. Pawn structure change after Jan goes d5. Queen d2, very natural, looking at these dark squares. Queen c7 attacks this pawn, and it is actually a genuine threat to win the pawn. Now, one of the top engine moves here is queen e3 to cover, but Magnus blitzes out h4. You know, they're playing on instinct. He's going for an attack, and Nepo lops off this pawn. Now, hang on a second. Are you not walking into a pin? Isn't that going to spell disaster? Well, no, because you're threatening to take this knight with check. And even if the king moves, you're threatening to take the knight and attack the white queen. So it's a clean pawn that black has won. Magnus shakes his head. He carries on pushing his h-pawn, going for Nepo's king. We get takes with check. Bishop captures. Nepo a clean pawn up. Nice big centre. But here already he plays an inaccurate move. He just wasn't in the flow. You know, he should go queen c5 or queen d8. Keep that one free from the bishop's attack, but hold on to this defensive piece for the time being. But he goes bishop to e5. He allows Magnus to take with tempo, dragging the queen to the centre, and then rook to e1. And now Magnus is picking up this big initiative. The queen goes back to g7, again not the best move, d6 technically best, and Magnus starts turning the screw on the initiative. He goes h6, squeezing Jan on the dark squares. So the queen dives into f6, and now this is where Magnus just unleashes fire on the board. But before I show you this devastating combination, I need to talk to you once again about a market-leading product hitting next June. It's called Go Chess. Now, I talked about this chessboard back in June of this year because this thing is taking the market by storm. It has got robots sliding under the board, making the pieces move magically by themselves. You can even voice control this thing, ultimate lazy generation feature. You can play against your friends online on Lichess, chess.com, the top servers. You can also play locally. Say you want to pause the position and then come back and play it. You can do so on the app connected to the board. You can replay master games, set up puzzles. All of it gets done magically by the pieces. So many features, right? Check out the website. The link is below. You can watch the full video, get the details yourself. And the absolute best thing about this chessboard right now is if you lock in on a purchase of this at this point in time, you get the early bird prices, which are just insane for what it's gonna cost when it gets fully released next year. Now, there is still a Labor Day sale going on right now, so hurry on over to lock in that one. If you're watching this after though, don't worry, there are other sales coming in future. There are still chances, but do it sooner than later because the prices are going up, already gone up by about 30 bucks since I first did this back in June. So check that one out, links are below, highly recommend it. Back to this game here. So Magnus, his move, what does he play here? Well done if you found bishop takes on d5.
Oh my gosh, the king is just getting mated. The knight d5, rook knight e7. This is so miserable.
Now, what is the point of this tactic? Well, it's all about the black king and the opening of the e-file. So if you capture that bishop, well, the knight is hopping, hitting the queen, and you're just in huge trouble. Say you retreat the queen to h8, well, this is the most beautiful. The knight hops to e7 and checkmates the king. It's squashed in the corner and this pawn takes away a square. What if you instead take the pawn on b2? Well, still you're getting squeezed. This time you can chase the queen away. It can't stay on this diagonal unless it comes here and you get mated. So it would have to come, say, here, queen a3, and now queen d4 is a killer. You threaten tons of nasty stuff. Sorry, you threaten knight e7 check and mate. You're not threatening to actually mate here because the knight covers. But now you take the diagonal. So f6 forced, and then there's so many winning ideas. But one of the simplest even is just trapping the black queen. It's offside. But many different winning moves, right? So this is the whole idea. The bishop is just immune. So Jan, he goes knight d6. And now really practical from Magnus, he just plays knight e4. Get the knight off the board, bishop retreats, not the best move, but look at the pressure he still has on this pawn and a huge lead on the clock. So Jan goes e5, poor move, weak pawn now. He does open his bishop, but how are you ever going to really develop? Rook b4 played, targets the pawn. This rook comes to cover. Rook b6, brutal invasion. The bishop blocks. Jan just trying to get developed here, but at the expense of a pawn. g5, trying to pick up this one. Ugly move. Now a second pawn drops. And now look at this for class, right, from Magnus. So the queen is hit. It comes to e3, and after this queen takes here, Magnus doesn't even win this pawn. He plays bishop to c4. I mean, the way this guy sees the board, he's hanging an entire bishop, but you cannot capture it or your queen drops. He's got this insane full board awareness. It's just amazing to watch. So queen f6 is played. Jan burns another 7 seconds there. And now we see the second point of the move, of moving the bishop. You free the way for the a pawn. Still not taking here, still not taking here. So rook d4 really does attack that bishop. Now Magnus takes here, shatters the pawns, pushes a7, still not concerned with winning this measly pawn. Jan comes behind, and now the top move to play. It's just amazing how he's doing this on seconds. He doesn't go rook b7 and cover like that, looks so natural. He goes rook b8, also a natural move. But now the queen is opened to defend this pawn. Obviously the stuff going on here you can't capture. So we see e4 played, protecting that pawn finally. But queen c5, forced resignation. Jan had had enough. So why did he resign? Well, he's just slow motion dying a death here. Say you go pawn h6, black barely has a move. Well, now you can cash in by taking this rook, Queen recaptures, and this is just a nice invading move, preparing queen to b8. And what to do here as black. You know, if you go queen f7, one of the top moves, challenging the queen, trying to win this pawn. Well, now you can check, and if the king steps up, well, you simply promote the pawn and you make a queen. Black's got to give up the rook. And if you block back like this, still covering this queening square, well, now rook d1 is a killer. Rook d8 coming, and that will be game over. And Magnus went on to destroy Jan in this match, won by about 10 points or something. I hope you enjoyed this one. Do go and check out the links to that website with particular, the Go Chess campaign. You will not regret. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out the video on screen for another epic game of chess, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks very much for watching.